I'm Spencer, and to learn more about Funny Bōnz at this year's Hollywood Fringe, check out this video. First fell in love with theater probably when I was 10, honestly. I found out that I had Coats disease, so I couldn't see out of one eye, which ultimately for me made me realize that I couldn't do sports at all because catching a ball was going to be inevitable that I wasn't going to catch it because of my depth perception. And so I had to find a way to do more creative things. And I found out I was not great at drawing things at all. But performing, I had a knack for performing, so I did that, and that's the main reason why I found theater. So I fell in love with sketch comedy. It started out with improv. I took a couple of improv classes just to kind of get on my resume as an actor, and then someone's like, "You're gonna get the improv and comedy bug, and you're gonna love it." And I was like, "No, no, that's not true." And I did. I went through a bunch of different improv programs, and from there, some of the improv programs had sketch elements, and so I started taking sketch comedies classes and ended up writing some sketch shows that I put up at different theaters, and then continued to write from there because I was able to find a lot of truth in what I was writing and being able to create things that are hopefully funny, but just being able to write from my lived perspective. Sketch comedy is unique in the sense that there's no real time limit to what a sketch can be. A sketch can be a quick runner, a blackout, like a very like two lines. It can be a 5-page scene. It can be an audio sketch. It can be a video sketch. There's no real limit to what a sketch can be when compared to different creative arts that you may see on stage or in theaters. And so I love that because I can literally tell a sketch any way I want and however long I want it to go. And I love sketch comedy so much because it allows me to throw out literally on a page things that I find relatively enjoyable and fun, and whether or not whether or not anyone else finds them funny or exciting doesn't really matter to me because I'm able to create. And I think that with sketch comedy, that's one of the best things about that in comparison to other formats is the ability to just have fun. I guess have fun. That's what I would say. I get to have fun without any real no holds barred as far as having fun. So my process for creating a sketch for a comedy production is starting with just something that I love to talk about or something that I love doing. Like I'm a huge on theme parks. I love watching movies, so I try to incorporate ideas of things that might be of interest or might be funny or fun or fascinating based on what I know and what I love. And from there, I take it and I just put up what people call like a vomit draft of just writing it on the page, getting it out, and then going back and seeing what works and what doesn't, and continuing to tweak from there. Maybe getting some people to read it so I can see like what's landing and what's not, getting people to actually watch it, and just kind of building from there. But it all comes back to me writing something that I enjoy writing about. But that's where I start with the process. But that would be how I continue the process for writing a sketch. Sketch comedy is good for the soul. It almost feels like a chicken soup for the soul kind of question. But sketch comedy is good for the soul because no matter what, laughter they say laughter is the best medicine. And it's so hard to argue with that because anytime I laugh, I feel better. And sketch comedy is such a quick way to get to that laughter. And that's the biggest thing. It's so quick to get to it, but it's also very lasting because it packs such a punch in such a short amount of time that there are sketches that I've seen years ago that I still remember because of the way it made me feel. And I think that that's something that now more than ever is so important is the ability to connect through laughter and the ability to connect through laughter quickly, which in this case, I feel sketch is one of the quickest ways to have a community of laughter. So as far as Fringe is concerned, I first knew about Fringe in 2016, specifically Hollywood. I didn't even know about Edinburgh until I knew about Hollywood. That's like my Fringe experience. 2016, I know some people that I know were like doing shows, and I was like, "What is this? I don't know what this is." So I went to go see a bunch of shows, Found out there were a lot of ways to like get real discounted and comp tickets if you just really worked for it. So I saw like 15, 20 shows or whatever that year. And then I was like, I want to put up a show. I want to do a show. And so the next year I had put up a show that was an extended version of a short film I did in film school and put that up in 2017. Really enjoyed the community. And then 2018 did another show. 2019 did 5 shows, which was a lot. But I love Fringe in that way. So I found out about it in 2016, and I wanted to do it because I have so many ideas, and I was able to find a community that I was able to kind of put the show up for that was a supportive community, and also like a non-judgmental. I mean, there's judgment in everything, but a non-judgmental space to put up a performance, which was super great. And so that's what kept me coming back to Fringe. So Fringe is so unique, at least from my perspective, because they call it an open access festival, which means that anyone can put up a show, no matter what it is. There's no like censorship as far as what the content of your production can be. And I love that because as artists, we always want the ability to put up whatever we want as our art, and this is a place to do that. But it also adds on to the support of like I'm so into seeing things that I would never otherwise want to see because I have the ability to see it at Fringe, and so I love that motto and that design is so motto is not maybe not the word, but the design of Fringe is so unique in that it allows artists to explore without any real boundaries. For this year's Fringe, what I'm really excited about is seeing how a lot of shows navigate through hybrid performances or online or in person and streaming, or how they're navigating through this new world that we're living in the age of this 2020 pandemic technology, this global change of our mindset of how we present theater. And I love traditional theater, but I'm so excited to see how Fringe and how all these different theaters bring their shows to life in a post-pandemic world through different ways of telling stories. That's what I love, is the ability to tell stories in so many different ways. So I'm excited to see that this year. I first found out about P3 Theater Company when I found out they were doing a show at Fringe in 2021, and I am a person who is big on Fringe. I love doing Fringe, and I wasn't producing a show this year, so I wanted to do a show. And I saw that there was an audition, and I was like, oh, sketch comedy, musical, all these things are fun. And then submitted for it, auditioned, got cast, and then as I was working, I found out that the people who run the company and the people who I'm working with are all really great. And so it became less about the performance and more about the community. I use that word again, but the idea of the community where it feels like a place that is nurturing and welcoming, and the ability for me to just be able to play. I think that's the big thing is there's a lot of room to play and a lot of room for me to kind of enjoy what I'm doing and also engage with people that are easy to talk to. So Funny Bōnz is I'll put it okay, this is my Capricorn talking. Let me see if I can navigate into a question format. So you can use this if you want. Uh, Funny Bōnz is like, okay, so Funny Bōnz is two things. Funny Bōnz is a musical sketch that takes events from past history, recent history, current events, and turns it into a way that allows an audience to laugh. Funny Bōnz is also a cast of people who come together to create sketch and musical comedy that is a community for the artist to perform laughter-based material for an audience of really anybody. And I think that's what I would say. But if I was to combine it all into one, again, this is my Capricorn wanting to really like give the answer, and I know that this is a very subjective question. But Funny Bōnz is the ability. No, Funny Bōnz is a group, a community of people creating material and content to allow other communities to laugh and enjoy life. I had to be part of Funny Bōnz because of many reasons, but a couple of the main reasons were, I mean, inevitably I wanted to do a show at Fringe, so that always is helpful. But as I started to look at the material and as I started to involve myself in the community, some of the reasons that kind of made me made me be more excited in working on the project is that I, as someone who has had a hard time getting through pandemic, like when that was happening, a lot of Zoom fatigue and just a lot. This was a space for me to feel like I'm getting the creative juices flowing, but I'm also having some kind of structure, which is really great. But also, I'm going to bring it back to it's such a fun time. I want to do things that are fun. Like that for me is the number one thing. And as I started to go through the material and the show and the people I'm working with, everyone's funny, things are funny, and it's just a fun show and it's a good time. And so that's the biggest thing for me is having a fun time. I'm excited for this to be the West Coast premiere of Funny Bōnz because I get to be part of something that's like a premiere, which is really exciting, but also everyone on this side, I'm pointing like everyone knows what side, the side of the squares. But everyone gets the opportunity, especially on the West Coast, to see something new and inventive and creative and bold and something that hasn't really necessarily been done before in this way. And so I think, as it's called Funny Bōnz, a humorous solution, there's a problem that needs fixing, and it's a humorous solution, really, if you think about it, that Funny Bōnz exists in this moment. It's kind of a dad joke. It was kind of a pun. It may or may not work, but that's the idea. But yeah, I'm excited for this to be the West Coast premiere for many different reasons, but especially because the West Coast now more than ever needs some kind of guidance in laughter, and I keep going back to having fun. We need some fun on the West Coast, and I think this is the way to do it. What I want audiences to get out of Funny Bōnz at Fringe is I'm going to bring it back. I got two things. One is I want everyone to have fun. I want people to come in knowing they're going to have a good time and leaving saying, I had a good time. Like whether or not like musical sketch or sketch comedy or live theater in general is for people. I want people to go and say, oh, this show's supposed to be funny and it's supposed to be a lot of fun. That's what I want to leave with. That, and their goal is to leave having laughed and having had a good time. And that's a big thing. But also, I want people to be able to identify that like the material in this show is poking fun at current events and creating laughter through even the most I don't want to say serious at times, but through the most structured. Yeah, serious is fine, but through different events, making light of certain situations and events to show that we can all just kind of laugh things off. Like it's like everything doesn't have to be so serious. There are serious things, but again, if you're having a good time and you're having fun and you're laughing, laughter is the best medicine, as they say, and I can't disagree with it. But I think that Funny Bōnz allows us to look at how the current state of affairs is happening, but also through the lens of humor. And so I want people to identify that humor in current events, but specifically have fun. I'm going to say it again, specifically leaving having had fun. I, during these Funny Bōnz performances, am looking forward to inevitably having a live audience. I know that sounds wild because theater is live audiences, but having an actual audience and knowing that the laughter is going to be in different places every night, that spontaneity of the audience, the applause, the laughter, the awkward coughs in the middle of things, like everything about the audience is what I'm most excited about because of that element of not knowing how the audience is going to respond with all these different layers of this being probably a lot of people's first show back into the theater in a live space, seeing how that's all going to flow and work. And it's just the magic of theater is back. and I'm excited for people to experience it and seeing how people experience it in different ways throughout the different performances. People should watch the show P3 Theaters Company Funny Bōnz at Fringe because it allows us to deal with the current events while escaping them at the same time. And what I mean by that is, again, laughter is the best medicine. I keep bringing it up because it's so important. I feel for this show is taking all of this stuff that we've been dealing with and are continuing to deal with, and that's not even just in the past like year or so. It's literally just from the history of evolution in general, and like in the which the world came to be. But finding ways to rediscover how the world works through humor. And I think that that's the biggest reason to come see it. I mean, other than like it's gonna be super fun and like rad, but the biggest thing is that I think rediscovering the world through a lens of humor, I think is the best way to describe it. The Funny Bōnz group, I see it going to Broadway. No, I'm just yeah, Broadway, sure, why not? I think what would be exciting about this is thinking of it as this like you have like all these like different like wedding events and like bar mitzvahs and like all these different companies that or all these different events that like hire these different companies to have like a singer and a band and all this stuff, but there's not a lot of like musical sketch or sketch comedy that gets thrown into the mix, and that would be such a cool like groundbreaking thing to have a group like this kind of running through these events like non-traditional um entertainment for these events. I think is such a cool thing to think about, but I also really want this, and I'm excited for it to be like kind of a community of artists that continue to work on their craft together. And I think that that's more of like a personal thing that doesn't necessarily show for like an audience perspective, but as we go through and there's more community within the group, it allows the audience to join that community as well because they see how the community builds through connection. And so for me, that's a big thing too, is this group forming and connecting and continuing the path of bringing laughter to the world. P3 Theater Company and many other theaters similar to it need help and support because there's so many reasons. I mean, one is for me, art is such an escape, and I know it's for a lot of other people as well. But for me personally, it gets me out of like anxiety. It gets me more confident. Like all these like social skills that I've learned a lot through theater, and through this show, this Funny Bōnz and P3 Theater Company. So for me, it's about personal connection to my insecurities that has allowed me to become more secure in my own self. And a lot of theaters do that for me, and supporting them allows me and many, I just say like me, but really a lot of others too, to be able to break out of their shells and to be able to create something that they know that they're good at and are able to do. And I think that that's so important, and keeping these alive and supporting these theaters is really what's going to allow more and more people to break out of their shells, branch out, have this confidence, lose their insecurities, and find and discover the magic of theater too, and to be able to continue to create that magic of theater. So the one thing I will say, which I haven't said at all, no, is Fringe and this show, Funny Bōnz, are both such a fun time. And I think that I've said it a lot, but I'm going to say it again. Having fun is the biggest thing. Like, if you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. But I think it's, we're always stressed out with like work and bills and like all these things that we have to do, that having this escape and something like Fringe or Funny Bōnz or both, really, because they're both kind of interconnected this year, is the idea of just having fun. When you're at the festival, enjoy your time there. When you're at the show, enjoy the performance. I think that's the biggest thing for me is, again, just having fun. Have fun. Laugh, cry, tears of joy. Don't like cry because you're sad. Cry tears of joy. But just have a good time no matter what you're doing. Hi, I'm Spencer, and if you want to learn more or to come see Funny Bōnz, whether it's online, in person, or I was going to say hybrid, which is also online and in person, however you want to see the show, if you want to come support P3, you can check it out at their website, P3 Theater Company website.